Human Settlements Minister Mmamoloko Kubayi is urging Gauteng provincial government officials to pursue a state of disaster declaration following recent floods in the province. This, she says, would be in order to ensure a multi-faceted response to the disaster. Kubayi is currently leading a government delegation that's visiting some of the worst affected areas in Soweto. Now, have a listen to what the minister had to say to our teams earlier.
The province, obviously the MEC for Gauteng will have to come in. What we are saying from where we are sitting as human settlements, because of the damage in the manner that we are seeing, we will be encouraging that. We hope that they can listen to us and declare a disaster from the province, because it's not only here, as I'm saying, West Rand has been affected. I'm not able to go. Alexander has been affected. I'm not able to go there. So based on the numbers that we are starting to see of households that have been affected, if you look at Meadowlands, apparently we've got about 400 houses. You've got Snake Park, you've got Dobsonville. So there's quite a number of areas that are affected that warrants for some level of intervention across. And because we need the resources, that's why a disaster has to be declared, because otherwise the limited resources that we have will not be able to meet if a disaster is not declared.
To get your live update on that story, go live to Soweto, bring in our reporter Ahmed Kajee. And Ahmed, as the minister and the provincial and municipality level leaders are now talking about dealing with what happened last week, it is still raining.
Yes, indeed, Timbekile. It is still coming down over here in Soweto in the south of Johannesburg. And very important to also note that the South African Weather Service has also issued a orange to red level 4 to level 5 warning for heavy thunderstorms heading between 3 p.m. and midnight this evening. So heavy rains expected in and around Johannesburg heading into today and potentially into the rest of the week as well. But for the residents of Soweto, a big part of what they are calling on for government is for some interventions to come into place as well. About a month ago, we had seen heavy rains coming across the Nansfield Hostel and the Klipspruit Valley area in Soweto. And at the time, the city of Johannesburg said they will be providing some sort of support to the residents of Soweto and to start implementing measures to ensure that they will not have any repeat of the flooding, and more importantly, the impact wouldn't be too intense. Unfortunately, 3 to 4 weeks later, we have seen this past week of intensive rainfall in the city of Johannesburg, and this is exactly what we are seeing, a repeat of people being displaced, infrastructure being damaged, and a whole lot more as well. Just the stream behind me, you will see, has been streaming through relatively fast, and the road subsequently damaged as well, just to and from the Project Glen police station as well. But just before I take you through this particular area, just to take a listen to exactly what one of the residents said they are hoping government should be doing to help them get through this difficult period.
Disaster people, they came, but what they did is just to have people take out of the house. They consider the fact that we have to stay outside the whole day without food, without anything. That was another problem that we had. Our children are suffering. Who's going to give them trauma? Nobody came to assist us with that kind of trauma. We lost our food in the grocery cupboards. Everything is damaged. So who's helping us through that? No one came. So that's my worries, because they only consider about the dam. What about our lives as well?
Well, Timbekile, this is what we are seeing coming through from the residents. They say what they're hoping government will assist them going forward. And I mean, if this is something that they have foresaw in recent weeks and months as well, it's still 2 to 3 months of heavy rain in the city of Johannesburg and the rest of South Africa as well. But I'm just going to take a step out of your shot as well. As I mentioned, this particular road with the Project Glen South African Police Service police station on your right-hand side, it's been relatively unstable for the last 24 hours or so, and in fact around 12 o'clock or so we had taken a drive past this road as well. At the time it was still open, and at the time people were still coming through with their vehicles, coming through with as pedestrians as well, and thankfully the rain wasn't too heavy at that particular time. But as we had then probably come through over the last 2 hours or so, the structural integrity of this road has been severely compromised over here. There are still cable work being done as well, and many of the trees and the poles have been uprooted due to construction, but also due to the heavy rains perhaps making the ground a whole lot softer, and the concrete and the sand subsequently collapsing in on itself as well. And the rainfall tends to generally really increase the flow of water as well. both at a speed point of view, but also from a width point of view as well, moving from the left and right of the embankment. So if heavy rains happen to continue over the weekend, heading into the new week as well, perhaps those intense thunderstorms which are notorious to hit the south of Johannesburg, if you just have to look up to the right of your screen, just at that particular tree area, water can go up all the way high to that level, and one can only begin to understand, begin to imagine, if that tree happens to collapse or this entire embankment on your right hand side happens to collapse, there could be further damage to property in and around towards those households as well. And speaking specifically towards those human settlements and the infrastructure maintenance and infrastructure development, a big part of what Soweto is facing is that private sellers are actually selling specific plots to people who would like to develop houses on areas which haven't been demarcated or allocated by the city of Johannesburg and by government, which isn't necessarily cleared for building. That's just due to the fact that the groundwater is just too high and the ground isn't solid enough for there to be any building. But what we are seeing is people are actually still buying those properties. There is the selling of those properties, and with the building of them, with the building of those houses, we are then seeing further damage to infrastructure and perhaps even loss of life when the heavy rains subsequently fall over the city of Johannesburg as well. So in terms of that state of disaster which the minister is speaking about, she says this will expedite the process to bring in law enforcement, the departments of policing, the Department of Infrastructure Development, the Department of Home Affairs and many other government departments to ensure that it's not only a response with regards to the emergency services response for people living around here, but also to ensure that any illegal activity or alleged illegal activity when it comes to the selling of properties unlawfully, that will also be taken care of. So from a government point of view, it's not just necessarily about reacting to the heavy rainfall, but also looking at proactively working against any illegal activity around properties which are then subsequently being impacted during the heavy rains. Tembekile.